Welcome to Moments with Marianne. This is your host, Marianne Pastana, and I am so excited to be celebrating 10 years of meaningful conversations with you. As we step into our new primetime hour, it's such an honor to share this exciting new chapter with you. So whether you're starting your day out, headed to work, or listening from wherever you are, this hour is designed to bring you thoughtful dialogue, fresh insight, and inspiring stories so you can make every moment count. So thank you for being here with me today, and let's dive in. We're here today with special guest, Dr. Josh McConkey, who's here to share with us his new book, Be the Weight Behind the Spear. As America celebrates 250 years of independence, what can our nation's service members teach us about leadership and preparing the next generation? Well, today's guest is here to share with us just that. Dr. Josh McConkey is a board-certified emergency room physician, U.S. Air Force Reserve officer, award-winning author, and leadership advocate dedicated to developing the next generation of leaders. A 4-time Telly Award winner and founder of the Weight Behind the Spear Foundation, Dr. McConkey has spent his career leading in medicine, the military, and his community. So welcome to the show, Dr. Josh McConkey.
Thank you very much. I appreciate having me on.
Well, what a great honor it is to have you on yet again. And as soon as I heard about this book, I knew we needed to have another discussion. What does the phrase, be the weight behind the spear, mean, and how can people apply it in their everyday lives?
So it's been my leadership ethos. It's an overarching theme in that the best resource that any community has is people. It's teachers, coaches, volunteers, and families. And being the weight behind the spear is just engaging in your community, coaching, teaching, volunteering, being a mentor. I've worked a lot with special operations and that tip of the spear. And these individuals are just so mentally and physically tough, and that confidence that they have comes from the people behind them, the weight behind that spear. So everybody has gifts to give, and being the weight behind someone or something that matters, that's how I kind of approach all of my leadership.
So what inspired you to write this book?
For me, as an emergency physician and a military commander, I saw so many changes over the past 5 or 10 years. Social media involvement. There's an entire generation of kids out there that have not ever known a world without social media and an iPhone. And then during the COVID years, where we had a lot of shutdowns and they were shut out of schools and churches and other community events, it really arrested their development. And so they just didn't develop some of the basic leadership skills and learn about resiliency and how to overcome obstacles. And in the emergency department, I saw the manifestations of that. I see a lot of anxiety, depression, and suicide, just a huge mental health crisis. And as a military commander, when you have these 18 to 25-year-old kids, I just found it was becoming so much more challenging to get them to grow and communicate, and they just lacked simple resiliency skills. So I wrote this book to address this issue.
Well, I'm so glad that you have, because there are a lot of people that do need that extra bit of help to kind of get them to a place where they can probably be a leader in their own lives. And so why do you believe leadership begins long before someone holds a position of authority?
So when I look back at my career, 25 years in medicine, about the same time in the military as well, you are learning. I truly believe that leadership is not just a born skill. So you are developing those leadership skills from a very early age, as early as, 4 or 5, 6 years old, with your teachers and coaches and family members. I've seen lots of great leadership, and I've seen some not so great leadership. And you learn to take from both of those on things to do and then certainly things not to do. But it's an entire lifetime. And so that's why it's so important for people to get involved now and coach and teach and volunteer. You're literally shaping our future.
Okay, so to dovetail with that, how can teachers and parents and coaches and mentors shape the next generation of leaders?
So the unique challenges that I've turned into the COVID generation. So more specifically, the last half of Gen Z. This is that generation that was just really affected by a lot of those shutdowns and social media. It takes face-to-face interactions. So that's why getting out there and coaching and volunteering in your churches or your schools or some, community organizations, no amount of YouTube or X or TikTok is going to save them. It has to be face-to-face interactions, being that mentor, just getting back to the way things have been for humanity for thousands of years. That's just telling stories and being a mentor. It's super important.
So, how do we encourage young people to be face to face and be involved when a lot of times they're pretty hooked on those devices?
Yeah, that is a real challenge, and that's the generational gap that you have to find a way. And for me, as a military commander, getting that face to face time, so I always had that open door. I made a point of getting out and doing those walkabouts through the squadron, trying to get people one on one and just letting them know that you're genuine and that you care, and finding like you can ask them questions that they're going to know the answer to. You start to build some of those confidence skills, and then you have to live it. And so, really holding everyone in the organization accountable, yourself included. I had a couple of lieutenant colonels early when I took over at the squadron that I gave a good 6 months, and they just were not pulling their weight. There was no accountability, and they were shown the door. And once you show everyone that everyone is responsible and accountable, I think it brings the team together. You have to demonstrate that mentorship.
Well, that definitely lets people know how serious you are about the leadership qualities that you expect.
Yeah, it's so important because if you aren't holding the entire team accountable, without accountability, your organization will devolve quickly. And so they'll learn where they can skirt rules or not meet standards. You have to hold people accountable.
So, what qualities do today's young people need most to lead successfully?
So what I've seen in the young leaders that are developing that are the most successful is that resiliency. So that's where this generation has really struggled because with advent of social media, and then you see helicopter parenting and lawnmower parenting where now these parents just mow down every obstacle in their child's path and they don't allow them to even make mistakes. That's how kids learn. And so when you let them make mistakes, you don't micromanage their entire life. Be there and don't let them make the dangerous mistakes. Do those mistakes safely, but you have to let them learn, and that builds their confidence. And then you have to demonstrate to them that it's okay to fail sometimes. Like failure is not always a negative thing as long as you learn from it and it's not like a serious or super dangerous mistake. But those things are so key to build those resiliency skills.
So, let's talk about confidence. Why is it such an important part of leadership? And how can it be developed when someone's not very confident in maybe their skill set or who they are?
That's the biggest challenge, and that's certainly one that it took me probably 20 years to overcome. Not being born with just leadership skills and having to learn throughout an entire career. Once you get to a point that you're in that leadership position, you just tie that all together. And it's not being cocky, it's not having an ego. I think true confidence when you show your people that you're genuine and that you really care, when you have that very difficult conversation and you sit someone down and say, look, you've had 3 to 6 months, you're not meeting this standard. I really care about you as a person and I really want you on this team, but you're just not meeting those standards. And then, you either have to show them the door or have some other consequences there. They may not like your decision and they may be mad at you, but they respect you. And when you have that respect because they know that you're genuine and you really care about them and the organization, that's the type of confidence that you want to exude. You know, I take and I learn from everybody. When you see those leaders that think they just know it all and you can't tell them anything and they just sacrifice everyone else around them, that's you can see the insecurities. But when you have that true leadership and that confidence, people will see that.
Do you often get suggestions from people that follow you that help to improve what's happening around?
I would seek that out. Now, in the military, it's always unique. There's a leadership structure, and there's the saluting and the courtesies. But I would always have that door open, and I would have people coming in one on one, and I would just tell them flat out, listen, I don't want yes people in this organization. I want you to tell me and ask questions and ask why we're doing things, and I want the input, because I need the input from the team. If we sit down in a one-on-one and I don't have like a really good answer for my decisions, then maybe that wasn't a great decision. So I would take advice from everyone and just try to pull that together, but not having a big ego.
Well, I think that that is something that people just watch you and learn from, because then it shows how to also be a leader that can take information and decide whether or not that's going to be useful for whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah, and you'll see those like really authoritarian leaders, like especially a lot in the military, where they're always right and do what I say just because. And certainly when you're following orders and you're in combat situations, you do have to have that. Someone does have to be in charge, or things happen and people die, obviously. But just letting them know that you really care and that you're genuine. I mean, they sense that. They know the leaders that are out there just trying to climb the ladder, make the next promotion. And for me as a leader, I always felt the best marker was how many people around me are growing and promoting and moving on for greater things. I think that's the better reflection of a leader, is how good do you make your team around you.
Oh, I would say so. It has me kind of thinking, I mean, what lessons from your military service have been the greatest impact on your approach to leadership?
So when you look at complacency, and unfortunately in the military, I served in Iraq in 2007, and when you see mistakes, that really come from complacency, complacency kills. And when you see loss of life and just complete life-changing events for something simple like complacency, you can always be better, you can always be sharper. If you're not growing and learning, then you're basically dying. And so complacency kills. You can't let your organization get complacent. You can always be better.
That's such a key piece. So, how do leaders earn genuine respect instead of simply expecting it because of their title?
Yeah, and you see so much of that. You'll see those leaders that just demand it. I mean, it's obviously the customs and the courtesies in the military is very unique, but just having those one-on-one sessions and ask people, hey, what's going on in your life? How's your family? Do you want to go to school? I had so many of my members that, I was able to kind of shepherd into healthcare careers with like physician assistant or medical school. One into a really difficult perfusion school, and I was just so proud of that. And when you're investing your time in them, and they see that you want to make them better, like for the rest of their lives and in their careers and with their families. We had a member whose son died, was killed on a motorcycle accident, and you just sit down and you cry with your people, and they know that you care and that you're genuine, and they feel that. So they know the leaders that are just there because they want to promote, and they just are the power hungry. I mean, there's plenty of movies out there with crazy commanders. When you genuinely care, they know.
Yeah, they can really feel that. It's just interesting when you share about your experience. Did you start off in the medical field and then went into the military, or was it a little bit of both?
So I've had this unique opportunity where I've been able to really do medicine and the military simultaneously. I had an ROTC scholarship out of high school, so I had wanted to do the military, but I went to a very small school. I went to Chadron State College in Western Nebraska. It's a Division II school. They did not have an ROTC program. So once I got into medical school, I took a direct commission into the medical. I started with the medical service corps first, and then at graduation, the medical corps. So I started off as the butter bar, the second lieutenant, and have worked my way all the way up to colonel now. And really, it's been a great blend of military medicine with the combat time, aerospace medicine as a flight surgeon, all kinds of fun, exciting things. And then with the emergency department, I see a lot of other crazy things on that side too. So being able to put those together, I feel I've been very fortunate.
Oh my goodness. I mean, thank you for your service that you've done and continue to do. I mean, you're helping so many people on a daily basis, but it's also the next generation understanding just how to be better.
Yeah, and that's especially like when you look at COVID, I was so burned out. It was so stressful as a healthcare practitioner, as a physician in the emergency department. Wow, it was tough. But the military, I could lean on that, and that's where, taking command and helping to like literally develop future leaders for this country. I took a lot of pride in that. So I really needed that. If I just had one, I think it would have been really difficult during COVID, but at least I can focus on some of the military duties and command really was much more satisfying.
What do you feel that this big anniversary for America means to our military?
For our military, for 250 years, men and women have been making that ultimate sacrifice and having carried body bags in Iraq and taken care of just true heroes. This 250-year anniversary, just the history that knowing that I had some small part to play in that, my service in Iraq and 24 years in the military, when you put on that uniform, you're part of something bigger than yourself. You're literally part of 250 years of the the greatest experiment in the history of mankind with democracy, the United States of America, and just it's awe-inspiring, when and I love history. I'm such a history nerd, and you just look back at everyone that came before me, and then you learn from as many of those people as possible. For me, the World War II generation was just the greatest generation. So many great leaders, and like Band of Brothers, that TV show. There was a Major Winters with the 506th Parachute Infantry Regiment. It was Easy Company, but just you learn from so many people in history, and being a part of that, it's pretty special.
Who has been your biggest mentor in the military?
For me, I've had lots of commanders throughout my career, and for me, my time in Iraq is where I just really learned to embrace leadership. When you're a young lieutenant and when you're earlier in your career, you there's this, well, you want to be part of the team. You want everybody to like you. And then as you get older and you take on these leadership roles and then you see death and destruction, what happens when mistakes are made, you can't be everyone's best friend. Now, you're genuine and you care, and they know that you care, but you're not there to be liked. You're there to lead, and poor leadership gets people killed. And I watched it firsthand. I carried those body bags. Wow, it is really, really heavy emotionally and physically. And I think about those things every day. I wake up in the morning and I think about the women that made those sacrifices. And then I roll over and look at my wife and I go wake up the kids. They're all teenagers now, so they get more cranky when you wake them up. But I just feel so blessed and lucky. And it's because of all those people before me. So just really putting all that together, that it's been an amazing career.
Well, again, thank you for your service. I can't say that enough. You're just such I would say, a huge hero to so many people.
Thank you, thank you. I had a part to play, and I did my absolute best, and I've tried to lead where I can. So I mean, there's definitely other heroes out there, believe me.
Well, and to kind of dovetail with your teenagers, because I
Hmm.
mean, a lot of us we see the younger generation waking up cranky. How can we better prepare young people for the challenges they'll face in the future?
So letting them get out there in the world, and because of that face-to-face mentorship, we talked about that. You need to get out there and let them make some mistakes because that's how they learn. And then you just need to impress upon them. There's so much of this generation has this fear of failure. And if you frame it differently, if you frame it that, listen, like failure is a great motivator and failure is the best teacher. Now, in my line of work, in the emergency department, when people make mistakes and fail, people die, right? And have seen it in the military as well. So you want to have some guardrails there, but framing failure as if you're not pushing yourself to the point of failure at some point, then you have a lot more to give, and you're not really using the best of you and utilizing all those resources. So, you know, have a good weight behind you, that weight behind your spear, your people, your coaches, your family, your friends, and get out there and push yourself. And then you can find the edge, and it's okay to fail as long as you learn from it. But, obviously there's some things that you have to watch a little bit more closely, especially in the emergency department.
I would say so. I mean, I think anytime anyone's been in the emergency room, they understand just what pressure the staff is just under there. It's tremendous.
Yeah, and as a professor at Duke University, I've taught in several residency programs, and you see them develop. They come in as interns, and they're sheepish, and they're not sure of themselves, and everything scares the heck out of them. And you just see their eyes just so wide open when there's codes and crazy things going on. And then as they develop into second years, and then towards that third year, they have an extremely healthy respect. The second years always get a little overconfident, and sometimes you got to knock them down a notch or two. And then that last year, that third or fourth year, where they actually have a little bit of that fear in their eyes because, oh no, I'm on my own here in 2 months or 3 months, and I still have so much that I don't know. That healthy respect, and just know your limitations. I think people that think that they know it all are some of the most dangerous physicians. If you don't know your own limitations and don't know when to ask for help, that's when people get in trouble. But 25 years in medicine, and I've seen plenty of examples.
Why do you consider volunteering and mentoring and coaching to be such powerful acts of service?
Those interactions, people remember those. I remember every baseball coach and wrestling coach that I had. There's an entire chapter in my book that talks about accountability, and it talks about wrestling. And I just have always felt that wrestling is that just ultimate accountability sport. It's just you and one other dude on a mat, one on one. There's nobody else to blame. So you either win or you didn't. Nobody missed the pass. Nobody missed a basket. It's literally just you. And you have to learn that. You either have to work harder or lift more weights or get faster. There's no one else to blame. It's just you one on one. And accountability for me was always very key.
Okay, so to kind of look at it that way, so what role does adversity play in developing resilience and character? Because I know you're talking about lawnmower parents, and I would think that that really stunts the growth of their children being able to experience the world.
Yeah. And when you see really successful leaders, and especially in special operations, when I served as medical director for combat search and rescue with PJs, pararescue jumpers, these are the individuals that jump out of helicopters into the world's most dangerous environments to like save down aviators. And we saw that recently in Iran with the F-15 that was shot down. There was a pilot and the weapons system officer. But these individuals have such just amazing resiliency. Their ability to just adapt and overcome any obstacle. Like they have like this hyper ownership where everything is their problem. Nobody passes the buck. They take ownership of everything. And that just builds a resiliency. I mean, they can take insane amounts of punishment, just the physical and the mental testing that they go through. It's the longest pipeline in the entire military for training. And you just see them and what they go through and try to take a little bit away. Like, I can't do that. Like, I do not jump out of helicopters. Just the things they do just absolutely blow me away. So it's fun to be a part of that. And then you see what really makes them who they are. It's the weight behind the spear. Like they had that wrestling coach or basketball or their grandfather or a teacher or a mentor somewhere along their lives that just gave them the amazing confidence to do what they do. And that resiliency is what sets them apart, because people that can't adapt like readily when adversity hits you or helicopter crashes. And I mean, just there's crazy things that happen. You have to be able to adapt and overcome. And that resiliency is what sets them apart.
And it sounds a lot like that's the training we hear about the military that they do over and over and over again that puts people in positions where they can act immediately.
And so I led an exercise in the Pacific Northwest. So this was a big national disaster military exercise where we set up an outpatient staging system. And this was the exercise for what happens if something were to happen in the Pacific. Everyone's concerned about the Chinese aggression against Taiwan. And what do we do with all the casualties? And so it was March, and it was just uncharacteristically cold. You're running it's a whole staging patient facility of about 100 individuals, and there's freezing temperatures. The generators don't work. I'm not sure if they did that on purpose or not, but everyone's freezing. And, just you had to learn how to adapt, because I just sat down. I was like, listen, embrace the suck, right? This is horrible. We're freezing. We don't have electricity, but people are still dying. I, if it, does that mean we just stop doing our job? Like, no, you got to find a way to adapt and overcome. And especially in the Pacific, it'll be more World War II level carnage with island hopping, and you may not get those resupplies, and you might not have air superiority. So you have to find that way to adapt and overcome. And it was a good exercise, but you have to fight through it. But unless you've experienced it and trained that way, it's kind of hard to replicate that.
Oh my goodness, I would say so. And wow, I have no words for how you managed to do all that.
It
It's
was crazy. It was not fun. I actually got really sick. I was very physically ill, caught some nasty viral infection, and had to just hammer through that for a couple of days. But it took me almost, I think, 2 or 3 weeks to recover after that. It was very taxing.
It sounds like it. I mean, my goodness. I mean, as America celebrates its 250th anniversary, what can those who serve teach us about leadership and service and building a stronger America?
Realizing that it's about so much more than you. And if you look back at some of our great leaders, like John F. Kennedy, just some of that famous speech, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. I feel that we've gotten away from that over the past decade or two, and there's lots of individualism. It's me, now, now, now. We need to get back to community. That's what humanity has been about, is culture and community and families for thousands of years. And I do feel that, social media kind of plays a part in putting that wedge in between that, because people are so absorbed. They're on their phone. You'll see teenagers, like my teenagers, they're sitting in a row with their friends at some type of event, and they don't even talk to each other. They text each other. They're sitting right next to them, and they're texting. And it's different. And when you come with stories, this is what I found in the military too. If you come with that mentality of, hey, well, back in my day, they don't care. That's not helpful. They don't they don't like that at all, and it doesn't help them. So you just have to find that way to adapt and overcome. And for me, just the face-to-face interactions with coaching, or getting your kids involved in Civil Air Patrol, or some organization, like animal shelters. Those animals. If you don't like working with people, there's plenty of people that don't enjoy those types of things. Go to an animal shelter, and those animals will be emotional support animals for somebody. So everyone has a part to play. And the more that people realize that what they do matters every single day, I think we'll be better off as a country moving forward. It's been 250 years.
Well, it's definitely something to be very proud about. What do you hope readers take away from your book, Be the Weight Behind the Spear?
I think the biggest takeaway is that you really do matter. Those little interactions that you have with family and coworkers, colleagues, the people around you, you have a tremendous effect on them. And when you realize that and embrace that role, you embrace that whole mentality of being the weight behind the spear, I think it really empowers you. And most people that come into the emergency department, when I see the anxiety, the depression, and unfortunately those suicides, just a lack of purpose. That's that detachment from the people around them or their family. And, everybody has a breaking point. So I've seen even the toughest individuals, special operators, that have had suicides, and, everybody has a breaking point. But in general, if you have that purpose and you embrace that, be the weight behind the spear, I think you'll be better off mentally. And I think it really would help the country as well. So it puts everyone in a better position.
Oh my goodness, Dr. Josh. I mean, you're such an inspiration. Where can our readers go to connect with you and be part of your community?
Well, thank you very much. You can go online at waitbehindthespear.com, WEIGHT, waitbehindthespear.com. On Instagram, it's Josh McConkey, MD, and on X, it's McConkey 007. I'm a James Bond fan.
Well, Doctor, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Dr. Josh McConkey. It's been such an honor to spend this time with you and to talk about your book, Be the Weight Behind the Spear. Make sure to visit his website at waitbehindthespear.com for more information on his work and to be part of his community. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. You're listening to Moments with Mary Ann, where we make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Mary Ann is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Mary Ann will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmaryann.com for more information.